what is the core of everything? What's the operating system that makes all this other training and sales stuff and communication stuff work so well? Like, you could have the best app in the world, but if your operating system is out of date or you're running the wrong operating system on your device, then the app is no use. The more important thing is to build a state within yourself that transmits and transfers to the prospects. Humans will always make decisions and exhibit behaviors that are consistent with their own perceived identity. Take some time in between each call, press the reset button, calibrate, and then go into your next call clean, blank slate.
If someone's listening right now and they feel like they're constantly chasing deals instead of attracting them, what are they doing wrong? Welcome back to Behind the Sale. If you are a listener of this podcast, you are no stranger to our guest today. This is, I believe, the third time he's on here. So yeah, we're going to have another great conversation as always. I always feel like there is like a weight lifted off my shoulders when Camron's coming on because I don't have to think so much because it's always a lovely, just incredibly insightful conversation. So Camron, for those who don't know who you are, can you do a brief intro?
Yeah, thank you, Princess. My name's Camron Sayyah. I've been in the high-ticket sales space for the past 6 years now, and for the past 3 of those 6 years, I've been more so interested in the behavioral stuff. So behavioral science, human behavior, intelligence, tradecraft, the Black Ops kind of stuff that you see in a Jason Bourne movie, that kind of thing. So more so not just the sales scripts and the objection handling, but the operating system underneath it. What actually makes a human being tick? What actually determines why human beings make the decisions that they make? So like, what's the core of it all? So I've been studying that for the past 3 years, hyper-focusing on that. I co-run a community that teaches that stuff with my partner, Christian, but that's me in a nutshell, and I'm excited to be here for the third time.
Something that you guys are teaching right now it's something called the invisible game. And it's something that you've been teaching forever because I learned a lot of some of this stuff with you back in like 2023, that,
Yeah.
you know, the dark arts, if you will. What is that invisible game that most salespeople are playing without even realizing it?
So the best way to describe it is we all have a phone, right? Whether it's iPhone or Samsung, doesn't matter. On that phone, you have apps. So whatever app you're on, that's the game that you're playing. But underneath those apps, underneath all the apps on your phone, is what's called an operating system. And so that operating system dictates how those apps function, how quick they are, how well they function. And without that operating system, the apps don't work. And so like, you could have the best app in the world, but if your operating system is out of date or you're running the wrong operating system on your device, then the app is no use. And so it was probably a bad analogy. I'm sure there's other analogies that could explain it better, but that's kind of what this invisible game is. It's the invisible operating system that is kind of running underneath all the layers of every human interaction. So if you have 2 or more human beings in a situation, whether it's just a conversation with a friend or a family member, a sales call, or you're speaking on stage, it doesn't matter what it is, there's always going to be a silent, invisible operating system that's kind of running underneath, and it dictates the outcome of that interaction, no matter if it's low stakes, high stakes, or anything in between. And so understanding the operating system and how it works and the levers to pull, that's kind of like, you know, if you think about the most influential people in history, they were the ones who kind of understood those things, whether consciously or not. And so that's kind of what I've been hyper focusing on, is what is the core of everything? What's the operating system that makes all this other training and sales stuff and communication stuff work so well?
So yeah, the operating system, I think that's a really great analogy for it because it's running in the background. So when we think about this, let's take a closer who just lost a deal that they felt like, oh my gosh, this person was so closable. Like, why did I fumble this? What do you think is actually happening beneath the surface?
Yeah, a lot of times when that happens, I know you've been there, I've been there, a lot of us have been there, especially a lot of us in the closer space. When that happens, when you're in a situation like a sales call and the deal doesn't close, a lot of times, and you know this, you say all of the right things. So the things that you were saying were all technically correct on paper, but you still didn't get the deal to close. And it's not because of what you were saying or what you weren't saying. The words you spoke had nothing to do with it. It was the context in which those words were spoken. The context may have been wrong, or the frame around the conversation may have been off, or maybe maybe you were in the wrong state, or maybe you didn't build the correct state in the other person. Or it could have been an identity thing. Maybe you didn't build and install the correct identity in the prospect to get them to see themselves as the type of person who makes a commitment like this or makes a purchasing decision. So all those things matter. And without those things, you could say all the right words and still get a completely different outcome. So it's usually those invisible layers that are those boxes that are not checked off. Even when you are reading the perfect script and saying all the right things, you have to make sure that you're focusing also on the context of the situation and not just the content, because context dictates content, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where one of my so there's let's talk about the three elements on at a high level, but I really want to dive into one of them, which is my favorite, which is the frame one, because
Yeah.
frame is something I talk about a lot, and a lot of people are they just don't understand like frame and kind of how simple it is, but how big of a difference it makes when you're actually controlling it.
100%. So the frame is just how do I put this? So you're watching this and you're looking at me through a screen, and that screen is a frame. So this little box right here is a frame, and this frame dictates what you see, and it also dictates what you don't see. So what does that mean? That means that this little box determines how you perceive the interaction, and it determines the meaning that you assign to it. So frame in the influence context is the exact same way. It's that invisible box around a conversation or a situation that determines the meaning and the perception of it. And so there's different types. We actually teach 7 different types of frames. But when you install the correct frame in a situation, the rule of thumb is that the person who controls the frame controls the outcome. Because if you control the frame, you therefore control the meaning of the interaction, the meaning that you assign to it, but also the meaning that the other person assigns and draws from it as well. And so if you can dictate the meaning that they get from an interaction, you can dictate and kind of point them towards the outcome that you want. Not in like a manipulative or a controlling way, although this stuff can be used for that, but you can also use it for ethical outcomes too. And I think that goes without saying. But hopefully that answered the question.
For sure. I think with frame, when I first heard you talking about it, it made me think about marketing, because marketing is all about controlling the frame, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, yeah. It's, if I'm selling you a product, I can just put the product in your face and just shove it in your face. And that might work sometimes with some people. There's a small portion of the population who responds to that. Like, you just put something in front of them, no meaning, no context, they'll just snatch it up. But the most effective marketing is let me assign meaning first, and let me sell you the process by creating a frame. And then once you're inside that frame, oh, by the way, here's a product. And now inside of a frame, it means something completely differently. And so, yeah, the best advertisers and marketers and copywriters, they also use this stuff as well.
I think the best marketers and the best even salespeople are the ones who can hold the frame the best and control it and know, okay, I need to like pivot and shift like perspective or something, right? Okay, so at a high level, what are the 3 elements of the invisible game?
The invisible game, 3 elements. So number 1 would be frame control. So the person that controls the frame of an interaction controls the outcome of an interaction. So that's number 1. Number 2 would be your state. I call this state echo. So state isn't necessarily building the state inside of a prospect. So like I'm going to focus on building a certain state. That's important, but the more important thing is to build a state within yourself that transmits and transfers to the prospect. So I can build a state in you by the words I speak or by just being in a particular state myself. It's kind of like, I'm sure you've had a moment in your life where you walked into a room with a really happy person and they were just happy and excited for absolutely no reason, and you couldn't help but just feel that energy and just feel happy too. It's contagious. And so your state broadcasts a signal. We all broadcast energy, not to sound too woo-woo, but we actually do. And so whatever state I'm in, the prospect, whether I'm in person or virtual, the prospect is going to feel that. And so that's the second thing, is building a state within yourself to transfer over to the prospect to help them install that state. And then number 3 is identity. And this is probably the most important one, because one of the most powerful forces in all of human decision-making and human behavior is the need to be consistent with how we see ourselves. Humans will always make decisions and exhibit behaviors that are consistent with their own perceived identity. So if you see yourself as a really lazy person, and I try to sell you high-performance coaching, but you still see yourself as a lazy person by the time I make my offer, you're probably not going to buy it, because this thing that I'm selling is the complete opposite of your identity. It's not an identity match. But if along the call and throughout the call, I can get you to see yourself as a high-performing individual, somebody who takes action, somebody who can get things done, somebody with unlimited potential, et cetera, by the end of the call, you're already the person I need you to be in order to buy. So the buy is just the next logical thing to do. And so when you have those 3 things together, it kind of creates this influence cocktail, if you will, the invisible game. It's the most powerful influencers, not just Instagram influencers that are half naked, but I mean the most influential people in history are the ones who had all 3 of those things to the max. And again, they may not have consciously understood what those 3 things were, but they exhibited them to their fullest potential. And the people I'm thinking of right off the bat are people like Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs didn't study scripts. He didn't study human behavior. He just had those things naturally. Alexander the Great was a kid in his 20s. He led one of the greatest armies of all time. Even Jesus, not to get like religious or anything, but Jesus Christ, he was a homeless Middle Eastern Jewish man, hung out with prostitutes and thieves, and we still talk about him 2,000 years later. In fact, our calendar year is based off of his birth. And so there are people all throughout history who had these 3 things, and nobody has really boiled them down into a framework before. So that was just our lofty attempt to kind of distill the science. But hopefully that kind of puts a picture and puts a perspective on what the invisible game actually is.
I'm curious, if I mentioned like random celebrities, would you be able to identify like which one of the 3 they embody the most?
Maybe not. I guess.
Want to try?
Yeah. Let's try. I might fall flat on my face, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I'll see. We'll see. Well, you've got to also kind of know the person as far as like see their interviews or maybe watch any press things they've done. So let's see.
Yeah.
Let's start with a movie, like an actor.
Okay.
You know Denzel Washington?
Of course.
Okay. Which one do you think he...
So he's a state guy. The first thing that I think of right off the bat is state. Anytime you see him in an interview, even in like his movies, his roles, he transfers that energy. Like he embodies that role. And then when you see him in an interview, when he's just Denzel, he's got this energy about him, and that transfers over to the people around him. It's magnetic. Just that one thing alone, just the state thing. That's magnetic, and it makes you want to be in his presence, in his orbit. Identity, for sure, he sees himself a certain way, and frames, yeah, I don't think he's consciously doing this, but he definitely creates a frame around the interaction. But I'd say his superpower is number 2, the state one, state echo.
Okay, let's do another one. Superman.
Which one?
Like the original, like from the 90s?
Oh,
Older one,
I
but
I couldn't tell you. I'm not familiar with that one. Henry
uh,
Cavill, maybe, but not
okay. So let's do which one do you know?
Henry Cavill, the handsome
Oh,
one
okay. Oh, okay, let's
with
do
the receding hairline, like me.
Oh, right. Okay. So which one does he embody the most?
Um, I don't know. I don't know him that well.
What about let's do a fictional character, another one, let's do the Joker.
How
The
about
actual fictional character though. Because he's pretty much the same kind of character in every version, right?
I would say the fictional character, like regardless of the actor portraying him, I'd say the fictional character would be it would be the state, but in the negative sense. So he has a really strong state that he transfers, but it's not a pleasant one. So when you see him and the way he behaves, he's maniacal. He's almost charismatic. Some of his portrayals, some of the actors that portray him almost have a little bit of charisma, but it's negative. It's threatening, it's dangerous, and that also transfers. So it's not just the positive stuff, it's the other side of the spectrum. So that was actually a really good example just to see that it works both ways. I couldn't tell you about the other two because he's kind of a psychopath. So I'm just gonna stick with state on this one.
Okay, let's do a few more. Jeremy
Okay.
Minor.
Jeremy Minor, he is really good at framing stuff. He's a really good frame guy. I couldn't speak to the other two, but he's very good at setting a frame before he even says, or before he even makes his point. He'll build this entire arc and he'll take you on this entire journey and paint this whole picture, and then he'll say the thing, but then by the time he says the thing, you're already bought into the frame, and so you have no choice but to agree with him. So he's brilliant at doing that. So he's a frame guy.
Okay. Okay. What about Barack Obama?
Oh, that is, I think he's all three. He is all three. He he's very good at setting frames, and he's just very good at social skills and small talk and just conversing with people. He has a natural kind of elegance to the way that he speaks. And within that speech, I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying this, and I don't care. But within that, I think he's very natural and very organic with kind of painting a picture before he says what the thing is. So like he'll sell you on the process before he sells you on the point. So you're bought into the process and to the meaning before the point is made, and then by the time he makes the point, you agree with him. So there's that. His state, he's always very cool and calm and composed. He's never worked up. He's never anxious. He's never emotional. He's always just calm as a cucumber. That transfers. So if I'm feeling nervous and then Barack Obama came down and sat down next to me and just started talking to me, just because of his energy, I'm automatically going to start feeling a little bit more calm. That stuff transfers. And then identity, I think it goes without saying that he's a pretty stable guy. He sees himself a certain way. He has a sense of purpose. And that stuff is magnetic too. He sees himself a certain way, but he's also able to build an identity in his audience. He's able to get people to see themselves a certain way. That's how he's able to, create movements and move a lot of people. So yeah,
Nice.
Barack Obama is all three.
That's pretty good off the cuff. Well done. We did not prepare this. I just had the idea.
All improv.
Yeah. Good. So I want to actually dive into state a little bit more. I have a question on that. How can people if a closer's anxious about closing a deal, we know prospects can feel that state. How can you go about actually changing the state that you bring into the conversation?
Yeah. So there's a couple things you can do. Number one, physiology. So right off the bat, you just by manipulating your body will send your brain safety signals, or your body sends your nervous system safety signals faster than your brain does. So if I sit up straight, no matter what I'm feeling, if I sit up straight, shoulders back, My feet are planted on the ground, and I breathe from my diaphragm and not from up here, not from my chest, because this is adrenaline. This is fear. Down here is relaxation and composure. So if I breathe slow from my belly, I've got my feet on the floor, got my shoulders back, I'm sitting up straight, automatically, just 2 minutes of this has been proven in studies. Just 2 minutes of this can increase your, It increases oxytocin, increases dopamine. In men, it increases testosterone, and it lowers cortisol. Just 2 minutes, 120 seconds of just this before a call. Even if you're late, even if you're already 5 minutes late, take 2 extra minutes, get yourself in the proper physical state. So that would be number one, physiology. Number two would be psychology. So what is one way that you can change your psychological state is you can calibrate your intention. So like, let's say you're preparing for a sales call, and I do my physiology, I do get my body in state. Then I can close my eyes and I can just set the proper intention for the call. My only job on this call is to serve this person the best I can, whether they buy or not. So if I go in with that intention, that's a whole different signal that I'm sending versus I need to close the sale. Because you can do this with your body all day long, but then if your intention is neediness and it's coming from wanting to close them, it's going to kind of send a mixed signal. So you can do physiology, you can do psychology, and then you can, I do a third one where it's just releasing any leftover negative stuff. So I just close my eyes, I do a quick body scan, and I just kind of scan for any areas where I have constriction or I'm holding tension, and I just kind of release and just let those things be there. I don't try to force them away. I don't try to like suppress them. I just let them be there, and I just acknowledge them, and I just kind of give them space to pass. And so if I do those three things in tandem, give myself 5 minutes before a call or before a conversation, and I do those three things, it's a whole different conversation. I'm walking in as a completely different person, and I'm broadcasting a completely different signal versus just kind of like machine gunning a bunch of calls back to back to back to back, and you're hectic, you're a mess, you're thinking about your next call, you're thinking about your previous call, your state, your energy, it's all messed up. Take some time in between, especially if you're taking calls back to back, take some time in between each call, press the reset button, calibrate, and then go into your next call clean, blank slate. So that's how I do it. I'm sure there's tons of other ways, but that's just what I found effective.
Yeah, that's solid. And I always recommend my students write it down, like have a little index card in front of them where they have their pre-call checklist. So they don't even have to remember how to get their state in order. They already know like what works for them. So that's really good. Yeah. Especially when you're back to back. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it can be grueling because like I've been there. I've taken, 8 calls a day, back to back, 5, sometimes even 6 days a week, no break. Everybody just happens to show up, 100% show rate. And it's exhausting. It's not just mentally exhausting, it's physically exhausting. It's a lot of work. People think, oh, you just sit down and yell at your computer screen all day. No, it takes a lot out of you. It's draining. So that's why it's so important to regulate your energy and to make sure that you're balanced through those calls, because you just burn yourself out really quickly if you don't manage any of that stuff.
For sure. Yeah. I think sales, more than any other kind of communication, is it's an energy exchange. It is big time.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And another thing that people don't talk about is one other reason why it's important to regulate your state. It's not just for you transferring your state to the prospect, but you also absorb energy from your prospect too. It goes both ways. So if I'm talking to somebody, I could be full 100% state, I'm regulated, I'm ready to go. But then if I'm talking to somebody and they are a nervous wreck and they're full of like fear and anxiety and all this stuff, I absorbed that stuff too. And so if I go into my next call with that stuff, I'm just carrying the energy from the previous call from the prospect over to this prospect. And then I'm also absorbing their juice. So it's like this ugly concoction of stuff that I don't want. So it goes both ways, and you got to be really, really protective of that stuff. But You already know this by now.
Absolutely. Like an exercise that I do with people who are newer in sales is I'll role play with them and I'll be the most anxious prospect on the planet. I'll be a very skeptical prospect, all of these like really big energies that tend to dominate the other person, whether it's fear, skepticism, all that stuff. And what they have to do is not absorb my energy. They have to practice basically being the bigger energy in the room
Yeah.
because the one who controls the frame
There
controls the
you go.
outcome. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably a super effective exercise that your students take into their calls, and they probably see results right away from just implementing that one thing.
Because people at the end of the day want to be led. That's no matter where they are in their life, whether they're a doctor, whether they're a brain surgeon, like if when they're on a sales call with you, you are the leader, even if it's like your first day ever taking calls.
Yep.
So you got to embody that energy. And a big part of that is their identity, who they feel they are when they show up to the call, right? And something that you talk about is lie identity, my identity, and the true identity. So can you break down what those are?
Yeah, lie identity. So a lie identity is just the lie that you tell yourself, and beliefs that you carry about yourself that are not true, that were handed to you by other people. So your parents, when you were growing up, your parents told you certain things about you, your teachers, your peers, your friends, and then when you got older, it was your coworkers. It was your partner. It was, social media, society, culture. You were handed these beliefs that you didn't ask for, that you just accepted without questioning about who you are, that are not true, that you just accepted as true. And they are the lies that you consistently tell yourself. Like, I will never be capable of this. I'll never be able to do this. I'll never be worthy of this. I don't deserve this. Those are all parts of a lie identity. That's what makes up a lie identity. So that's the first piece, lie identity. The next piece is my identity. So a my identity is the same exact thing as a lie identity, except now you become aware of these things and you get this belief that the only way to get rid of these lies is to just grind harder. So like, I'm not a good salesperson. That's the lie identity. The my identity version of that would be, I'm not a good salesperson, but if I take as many calls as possible, then I will have no choice but to hit my numbers. So that's not making yourself you're not upgrading your identity. You're just pushing a boulder uphill. You're just exerting more effort for diminishing returns. Because what happens is you end up burning yourself out. You get less results than you would have if you had just stuck with the lie identity. And then it just reinforces the lie identity. It reinforces the lie that, oh, I guess I'm not a good salesperson after all. I guess this is just who I am. So it's like a self-propagating thing. It's like a self-reinforcing thing. And so that's the lie identity, my identity. Then the true identity is what is left over when you strip away all that stuff. So it's not something that, this is the misconception, is that your true identity is something that you go out there and find, or that you create or construct. It's not something you find. It's not a destination you reach. It's actually a natural state you return to when you strip away all the layers. So it's there. It's under there. You just have a bunch of bullshit that's covering it. So when you strip away all the lies, and you strip away all the, erroneous beliefs that you were not something or you don't deserve something, what's left then is just you. It's you. There's no labels. There's no false beliefs. It's just you. It's just this knowing. It's like, oh, I know this is who I don't believe this. I know this. It's not belief. It's knowledge. I know I'm capable because I'm an infinite being and I'm capable of anything. These negative beliefs don't apply to me and I reject them completely. And so that's your true identity. It's true identity is reached through subtraction and not addition, contrary to popular belief. So those are kind of the three identity modes, if you will.
That's so good. Do you want to do some rapid fire?
Let's do it.
Be on your toes today.
Oh yeah.
Okay. If someone's listening right now and they feel like they're constantly chasing deals instead of attracting them, what are they doing wrong?
I know what they're doing wrong. I'm trying to figure out how to simplify the answer because I don't want to turn this into a coaching call. Um, if someone's chasing deals instead of attracting, the one thing that you're doing wrong is you're attaching. Chasing is a byproduct of attaching your self-worth to an external circumstance.
Mm,
So you need to figure out what it is, what attachments you have to closing deals, and you need to figure out what it would look like to let go of those attachments and to search for that exact same thing, which is self-worth and worthiness from within. Because if I can source that thing from within, I don't need a deal to close to be happy. And I don't need a deal to close, period. I choose to close deals. And sometimes they don't close, sometimes they do, but I'm doing it out of choice and not out of necessity. So that would be the simplification. I just thought of it just now as I was rambling.
good.
Chasing comes from necessity, whereas attracting comes from choice. So you and I can both do the same identical actions, but I could be doing them out of, like, I need this, need this. You're doing the same exact thing out of, I don't need this, I'm choosing this. And the difference is the attachment that we have to that thing. So remove the attachment, remove the emotional juice that you get from being attached to it, and come from a place of neutrality and come from a place of choice and not necessity. And it will completely change that. You don't have to change what you're doing, change the place from what you're doing is coming from. And that'll change the game for you.
What I want to add to that is when it comes the place that comes from, that need, it's not always a need for money, because I've noticed people who are even like my students who are doing even over 25,000 a month, they still sometimes have days where they're coming off like needy, and I'm like, what is this? It's because what they need is not the commission, but what they need is to stay at the top of the leaderboard. So that can create another icky feeling for the prospect.
It's the need to feel like, even if you're making 100,000 a month, you have money. It's not money you want. It's the feeling of accomplishment. It's a feeling of significance. It's a feeling of recognition. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with those things, but attachment to those things, that's where the neediness comes from, is the attachment and not the thing itself. So let go of the attachment. And if you're not on the top of the leaderboard, so fucking what? Who cares? It's okay. You did your best and you'll do your best next month. Just do your best. Know that you're doing everything that you can. Know that you're always improving. And the recognition will come. The significance will come. But all of that stuff is already within here. So I'm just going on a tangent. You already know this stuff, though.
For sure. Yeah, but the listener might not have ever heard this before. You never know, you know? So what's one question someone should ask themselves after every lost deal?
One question that someone should ask themselves after every lost deal. I'll add to that and I'll say, what is something that someone should ask themselves after every lost deal and it affects them? It affects them negatively. So what should I say? Okay. I'll ask myself 4 questions. The negative feeling that I'm experiencing, I'm just gonna take a second, identify or locate in my body where that feeling is. Okay, cool, I found it. It's like this tightness in my chest, or it's in my belly, wherever it is. Okay, I'm gonna ask myself 4 things. Is it true? Is it real? Is it mine? Is it now? So is it true? So whatever that feeling is, there's a story attached to it. There's a story of, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I fucked up, I'm this, I'm that. So is it true? That forces your brain to kind of examine the belief in the spotlight, and anything that's in the spotlight kind of loses its power. It's kind of like the boogeyman is only the boogeyman when the lights are off, and there's this big shape in the corner of your room, but the second you turn the lights on, oh, it's just your chair with a stack of clothes on it. So I'm shining a spotlight on it. Is it true? Well, no. Okay, cool. Is it real? Is this real? Is this story real, or is it a made up, is it a lie? Is it a lie identity? Okay, cool. It's not true and it's not real. Is it mine? That means, did I form this belief myself? Did I come up with this story myself? Did I create this for myself, or was this handed to me? Did I inherit this from my environment, from my parents, from my peers, from someone or something else? Did someone install this belief in me? So is it true? Is it real? Is it mine? And is it now? So this story, is it actually occurring right now? Or is this just a repetitive pattern that happened in my childhood that I've been playing on repeat? So when you ask yourself those 4 questions, it forces you into the present, because when we're feeling negative, we're either in the future, anxious, or we're in the past, we're depressed. If we're in the present, we can only be present. So it forces you in the present, and it forces you to examine the things that have been running in the dark under a spotlight. And spotlight has a huge effect. It has this huge kind of neutralizing effect, and it just kind of makes you realize how ridiculous some of those things are. So I would ask, after a lost deal and you didn't close and you're feeling kind of negative, is this true? Is this real? Is this mine? Is this now?
That's great. Yeah, it forces you to go deeper with yourself. And once you do that, I think it can help people to get away from spiraling, right, and going into a rut, because it's like, oh, okay, it's just an old story. Moving on.
100%.
Yeah. So these days, when you're on podcasts, I'm curious, is there a question that you wish people would ask you?
To be honest with you, no. No, I don't have a preference for questions. You can ask me what my shoe size is, I'll tell you. You can ask me what color my boxers are, and I'd probably tell you. They're light blue. And yeah, no, I don't really care. I don't care. I don't have any preference. There's no questions I wish you would or would not ask it. I'm just here to have a good time.
I love that. I love that energy. Yeah, it's always a good time. We talked about a lot. What's one thing that, if someone just takes one thing away from this, what do you want them to implement right away to see results?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. You are always broadcasting 24/7, whether you are aware of it or not, whether you're doing it on purpose or accidentally. The question is, how can you go from accidental to on purpose? So the one thing that you should take from this is you're already broadcasting 24/7. You're broadcasting a signal. You might as well broadcast on purpose. So be more conscious of the signal that you're broadcasting, because what you put out, you get back. Everybody knows this. You know this. This has been said dozens of times for hundreds, even thousands of years. The universe does not care what you put out. It will only give you what you put out. It will only give you back what you put out. So like a command prompt on my computer, the command prompt doesn't have a preference. It doesn't care. It just gives me whatever instructions I type into it. That's the universe we live in. Whatever signal I send, whether it's I'm not worthy or I'm unlimited and none of this negative stuff applies to me, whatever signal you send, you're going to get that back. So be mindful and conscious of what you're sending out.
I like that. Guys, when you're listening to this, I'm curious to hear what stands out to you the most. Of everything we talked about, what are you most excited to implement? What scares you to implement? And what was your biggest aha moment? Maybe pick one of those, okay? And put it in the comment section. I'm really curious, because people always take away things and I'm like, I didn't expect that to be the biggest takeaway. So I love to hear from you guys. Yeah, I find that we always have the best conversation, like when we're like done.
Yeah, because the agenda's over. We can breathe out, and now it's just like, now we're just talking. So yeah, if you want to riff, let's go ahead and riff.
Yeah. Okay. I'm curious, how do you feel about the state of the remote sales space right now? I feel a shift, but I can't pinpoint what it is exactly.
My honest answer is I don't fully know because I haven't had my ear to the ground with sales stuff recently. Like I've been a little bit withdrawn from the space. So I haven't had an active pulse on what's going on with like offers or roles or, just kind of like the beating heart of everything. But what I will say from a much larger, like much more zoomed out perspective is I think it is definitely evolving a lot faster and a lot more accelerated than it has been, for since we kind of got in the space. I got in the space 6 years ago. I know you've been in the space for a long time, and it was just a different landscape when you and I were in the space. And now it's almost like a self-learning robot. It's accelerating at this insanely large pace. And I think that's a good thing. But I also think it's just in the marketplace, there's a lot less trust. I think because of this, everybody watching, this. There's a lot of not so good offers out there. There's a lot of business owners who don't have 100% integrity. And I think over the years, it's caused this massive trust disconnect in the marketplace. And so my opinion is that right now that is a good thing. That is a good thing that there's a very big trust issue, because that means there is a disproportionately large share of the marketplace that is craving trust and craving connection and craving people to connect with them. And so I think that makes it all the more useful and effective to learn influence and to become a more influential person, to learn magnetism, to learn state, frames, all these things. Because when you do, and the sooner you do, the more of that marketplace you have to kind of restore trust and restore balance. And so I think that kind of creates a unique window of opportunity. But other than that, I couldn't really speak to the nuances of the state of things because I just don't know.
You have this funny way of always like saying something really humble, like, I really don't know. And then you just drop everything that I was thinking. So yeah, trust is is incredibly low. Like I've noticed trust going down even ever since like 2023 to now, but it's like really, people are to the point where people are like, is this AI? Like when I text them, and I'm just like, dude, it's like I'm on my iPhone, but I get it because we have the technology now where you could actually fake an iPhone in a CRM.
Yeah.
And like across the board, people's trust and morale is like, it's low. And I don't like to see that. And yes, it is an opportunity for the best closers to rise to the top because you're able to do the things that AI can't do. Like I was making the correlation with AI because I had just filmed a podcast episode that's going right before this one about AI and how sales reps can leverage AI. So I talk about things that AI can't do, which is that human connection, being able to really read another person's body language and respond with what they need based on how they're showing up, right? That's a big one. It's interesting. I'm just so curious to see like how the industry drastically changes even in the next year or two with all the new technology. And it's odd because it's like on one hand we have all this new technology changing things and the trust being so low. On the other hand, we have so many more people coming into the industry as sales reps.
Yeah.
And at the same time, all these business owners are trying to get away with whatever they can. It's a mess. I'm just watching with my popcorn like, let's see what happens.
Yeah, like Michael Jackson eating the popcorn. Yeah, it's a mess for sure. But I also think there's always going to be people on both teams, right? There's always going to be people every time the marketplace changes or shifts or adapts or upgrades or evolves. There's always going to be people who are already like low integrity people who continue to be low integrity people. And then there's the people who are high integrity who continue to be high integrity. And so I think the people don't change. The market changes, but the people don't. The industry changes, people don't. Technology evolves and changes. people don't. The people that are assholes are still going to be assholes, even when AI is able to read body language and simulate connection and empathy and all that. It's like you see in the movies. People are still going to be assholes, right? Good people are still going to be good people. So I think it is scary when you think about the implications of some of these things, like how scary it is that sometimes you just cannot tell the difference between AI and like what's AI, what's real. But I think the people that are using this stuff for good purposes are going to continue to figure out creative ways to use this stuff to create more impact and for good purposes and to spread good and do good in the world. And the people who aren't. And so I think ultimately at the end of the day, this is not a matter of like technology versus human. It's just a matter of good versus evil. I think good always triumphs over evil. Good is a much more powerful force than evil. And so it's been like that since the beginning of time, and it will continue to be like that unless we all somehow evolve into these enlightened Buddha, monks, and we go and meditate in Tibet for the rest of our lives, which I don't think is going to happen anytime soon. So that really took a turn. But yeah, there you go.
I really appreciate that frame shift of this is not about AI versus human, it's about good versus evil, because yeah, within that there is good on both sides and there's evil on both sides. So, and that's what really keeps me going. I think that really articulates what has kept me going in this industry, kept me going with growing my community and continuing to serve in a space where I've seen so much corruptness. But the fact that I want to believe a vast majority of us are in this for good, are in sales for good, are in online mentorship for good. We just want to help other people win, whether it's financially, whether it's mentally, internally. And that's why I like to collab and align myself with people like you who are in this for good. Like, I've known you long enough that I think that if you were corrupt or evil, you would have revealed yourself at this point.
It would have been exposed by now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, throughout my journey, I have seen people like shift and change and become maybe what was already dormant inside. So it's encouraging to do things with people like yourself, because if anyone doesn't know Camron, he's one of the few people out there who are truly genuine. And when you speak about things, when you engage in discourse, you will criticize, but then you'll always bring the light as well. And I really appreciate that, because there's too many people throwing stones at each other, throwing shade and all of this nonsense for the sake of marketing or views or whatever. So
yeah, and again, that won't go away anytime soon, but I think, not to sound like too much of a hippie, but I think ultimately love is the most powerful force in the entire universe, and the more of it that you can bring to anything, whether it's sales or marketing or just leadership or partnership or parenthood, whatever it is, the more love you can bring, not romantic love, but just love, the better that you leave people. You always leave people better than you find them by injecting love into a situation and by dissolving lower emotions like anger and hate and resentment and fear and anxiety with a higher emotion like love. And so I think that stuff will always triumph. It's just a universal law. It's a natural law. And I think, to go back to a question you asked me, what's one thing I want people to take from this, is be mindful of what you're broadcasting, but also choose love over hate. Choose a higher emotion over a lower one. No matter how much emotional juice you're getting from the lower one, it's 100 times better to choose love over hate. So I would amend my original answer to that.
That is so encouraging. It really is. It really is. I just made a note to talk to a student about that and encourage him with this, that love will always win. Even though it sounds like a cliche, it really is enough to keep you going when you're comparing yourself to other people. Like, so I have a student who's month after month battling with one other closer for the top spot on the leaderboard. They kind of alternate, and the top closer, it's very clear that he's doing things that are like not ethical to get deals. And so he feels discouraged because he's like comparing to that person. And I'm like, do not stray in that direction, because again, love will always win. So I'm going to like send him a message after this.
100%. Remember, the universe does not care what signal you send. It only responds to what you send. So hopefully that's an encouraging conversation you have with them, and hopefully some good comes out of it.
Absolutely. Thank you for always inspiring me and for inspiring the listeners. Can't wait to have you on again. It's always a banger.
Oh yeah, this is great. I think this is the most fun that I've had with you since we started doing podcasts together. This is the third one, and this is probably my favorite one so far.
Really interesting. I thought it would have been like the ayahuasca conversation. It got really deep. I was like, I'm afraid to like find out that maybe this is not what I want to do with my life.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was still fresh off of a mushroom trip, and I had what I like to call a spiritual ego, or a little bit of a spiritual ego. So it's like, oh, I've seen the other side. Now I'm enlightened. I know everything. Oh, material possessions mean nothing to me. So I kind of came off a little pious. Thinking back to like the emotional state I was in when I did that episode, I'm sure there was some really good content in there, some really good juice, but yeah, no, it's just, I think this conversation we had, there was zero agenda. There was no pressure. And I almost forgot that this thing was recording. I thought that this was no different than you and I having a conversation off camera. And I had to constantly look up, oh, we are recording. Oh, wait, this is a podcast. So I think those are the best ones where it's like, oh, this doesn't even feel like it's supposed to be a podcast. It's just a conversation. So yeah, this is probably the best one.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, amazing. I'm going to have a great day today because it started off with a bang.
Let's go.
Party people, if you stayed to the end, you are a real one. Congrats to you. I will see you guys in the next one. Look out for my episode about how closers can leverage AI to make a lot more money ethically. Okay. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. And those of you who are coming to Camron's training in the community, you guys will see him there live. All right, guys, have an amazing rest of your day. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.